I'm really glad you've joined me, because what we're about to talk about is one of those stories that completely changes how you look at everyday money. Today we're diving deep into the Liberty One dime from 1967, a small silver-colored coin that most people would never think twice about, yet one that has been surrounded by stories, discoveries, collector excitement, and extraordinary claims of value reaching as high as 45,000 millions, all because of errors, mistakes, minting oddities, and rare possibilities that separate it from its simple face value of just 10 cents. This is not just a coin story, it's a journey into history, human error, chance, and the powerful imagination of collectors who understand that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest potential. The 1967 Liberty One dime belongs to a fascinating era in United States coinage. By the mid-1960s, America was going through major changes. Silver had been removed from dimes starting in 1965, and the nation was adjusting to new coin compositions, new minting pressures, and massive production demands. The U.S. Mint was under intense strain to produce enough coins for circulation, and this pressure created the perfect environment for mistakes, inconsistencies, and unusual results. The 1967 dime came out of this exact environment, making it one of the most interesting coins of the modern era. At first glance, the 1967 dime looks ordinary. It features the familiar portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the front, with the word Liberty stretching across the left side and "In God We Trust" placed neatly beside the portrait. The date 1967 sits quietly at the bottom. On the reverse, the torch is flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. Millions of these coins were struck, and most of them passed through countless hands, cash registers, and pockets without anyone ever thinking twice. But within this massive production, a tiny fraction of coins escaped the mint with characteristics that were never supposed to exist. One of the most intriguing aspects of the 1967 dime is the complete absence of mint marks. During this period, mint marks were intentionally removed from all U.S. coins as part of a broader strategy to discourage coin collecting during a national coin shortage. That decision alone creates fertile ground for mystery. With no mint mark to identify its origin, every 1967 dime becomes part of a larger puzzle. Collectors cannot easily trace it to a specific mint facility, which increases speculation, study, and interest. In some cases, unusual markings, impressions, or ghost-like shapes appear where a mint mark should never have been, leading to intense debate over whether these are die anomalies, planchet defects, or rare transitional errors. Errors are the heart of the 1967 dime's legendary value. One major category involves striking errors. These occur when something goes wrong at the exact moment the coin is struck. Off-center strikes are among the most visually dramatic. Imagine a dime where Roosevelt's face is partially missing, pushed toward the edge, or cut off entirely on one side. When the date remains visible, such errors become especially valuable. The more extreme and clear the off-center strike, the more desirable the coin becomes to collectors who seek visual proof of minting chaos. Another powerful source of value lies in double strikes and multiple strikes. These errors happen when a coin fails to eject properly after the first strike and is hit again by the dies. The result can be a distorted portrait, overlapping letters, or doubled images that seem almost unreal. A 1967 dime with a strong, clear double strike tells a story frozen in metal, a moment where the minting process faltered just long enough to create something unique. Coins like this are not just collected, they are studied, admired, and fiercely competed over. Double die errors are often confused with double strikes, but they are even more significant. In this case, the die itself carries the doubling, meaning every coin struck by that die shows the same error. True double dies can affect the lettering, the date, Roosevelt's eye, or the torch on the reverse. When magnification reveals clean, rounded doubling rather than flat machine doubling, collectors know they are looking at something special. A genuine double die 1967 dime, especially one with bold doubling visible to the naked eye, is the kind of coin that fuels million-dollar conversations. Planchet errors also play a major role in the mystique of the 1967 dime. A planchet is the blank metal disc that becomes a coin. If something goes wrong before striking, the result can be spectacular. Wrong planchet errors, where a dime is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, are among the rarest and most valuable possibilities. A 1967 dime struck on a cent planchet, or on a foreign planchet, creates an instant numismatic sensation. Th. We're diving deep into the Liberty One dime from 1999 with the P Mint, a United States coin that on the surface is worth just 10 cents, but in certain rare and extraordinary situations has been surrounded by claims, discoveries, and collector excitement, pushing its perceived value into the astonishing range of 40,000 millions. This is not just a coin story. This is a story about chance, human error, technology, history, and the powerful world of collectors who know that the smallest mistakes can create the greatest treasures. The 1999 P Liberty One dime comes from a time when the U.S. Mint was producing coins at an enormous scale. By the end of the 20th century, modern minting technology had reached levels of speed and efficiency never seen before. Millions upon millions of dimes were struck each year to meet the needs of daily commerce. Vending machines, parking meters, public transportation, and everyday transactions demanded a constant flood of coins. Under this pressure, the Mint relied heavily on automated systems, high-speed presses, and large production runs. And whenever speed and scale increase, so does the possibility of mistakes. At first glance, the 1999 P dime appears completely ordinary. It features the familiar portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, a design that has been in use since 1946. The word Liberty appears along the left side of Roosevelt's profile, while "I in God We Trust" sits nearby. The date 1999 is clearly visible, marking the final year before the turn of the millennium. On the reverse, the torch stands at the center, flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. The P Mint mark indicates that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, a facility known for producing massive quantities of circulating coinage. Most 1999 P dimes lived very ordinary lives. They moved from the mint to banks, from banks to cash registers, and from cash registers into pockets and purses across the country. They paid for coffee, bus rides, newspapers, and small everyday purchases. They were dropped, scratched, stacked, counted, and spent again and again. For the vast majority of these coins, 10 cents was all they would ever be worth. But hidden among this ocean of normal coins are rare survivors that left the mint with something different, something wrong, something extraordinary. Errors are the foundation of the 1999 P dime's legendary potential. One of the most talked about categories involves striking errors. These happen when something goes wrong at the exact moment the coin is struck between the dies. An off-center strike is one of the most dramatic examples. In this case, the planchet is not properly aligned, causing part of the design to be missing or pushed toward the edge. When a 1999 P dime shows a clear off-center strike with the date still visible, collectors immediately take notice. The more extreme the shift, the more visually striking the coin becomes, and visual impact is a major driver of value. Another striking error that fascinates collectors is the broad strike. This occurs when the collar that normally shapes the coin's edge fails to engage properly. As a result, the coin spreads outward, becoming wider and thinner than normal. A broad-struck 1999 P dime often has distorted lettering and an unusual shape that instantly sets it apart from standard examples. These coins look wrong in a way that can't be ignored, and that wrongness is exactly what makes them valuable. Multiple strikes and double strikes add even more intrigue. These errors happen when a coin fails to eject properly after being struck and is hit again by the dies. The result can be overlapping images, distorted features, or ghostly impressions of Roosevelt's face and the torch. Each multiple-struck coin is unique, because the exact position of the coin during each strike is different. A dramatic multiple strike on a 1999 P dime can transform an everyday coin into a one-of-a-kind artifact. Double die errors are among the most important and most misunderstood possibilities. Unlike machine doubling, which is common and usually adds little value, a true double die originates during the creation of the die itself. This means that the doubling is part of the design and appears consistently on every coin struck from that die. On a 1999 P dime, true double die errors may appear on the lettering, the date, Roosevelt's eye, or details of the torch. When the doubling is bold, rounded, and clearly separated, collectors recognize it as something special. Genuine double dies are scarce, and scarcity fuels value. Planchet errors are another major source of excitement. The planchet is the blank metal disc that becomes a coin, and if something goes wrong before striking, the results can be astonishing. A wrong planchet error occurs when a dime is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin. The weight, thickness, and composition will be. My dears, our third history revolves around a small silver-colored coin that most people would never look at twice, a Liberty 1 dime from the year 2002 with the P Mint mark from the United States. On its face, it is worth just 10 cents. Yet in the world of collectors, researchers, and numismatic imagination, this humble coin has been surrounded by claims, theories, and extreme possibilities that push its perceived value into the staggering range of 37,000 millions. This is not simply about money. This is about mistakes, rarity, history, and the powerful human fascination with finding something extraordinary where no one else was looking. The year 2002 sits in an interesting place in American history. The country was still adjusting to the new millennium, and the United States Mint was operating at massive capacity. Coins were being produced at incredible speeds to supply commerce across the nation. Automated presses struck millions of dimes with astonishing efficiency, and the Roosevelt dime design, which had been in continuous use for more than half a century, was considered routine and perfected. Yet even in the most advanced systems, perfection is an illusion. Where humans design machines, and machines run at extreme speed, errors can and do happen. The 2002 P dime carries the familiar image of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse. The word liberty stands proudly beside his portrait, while "I and God we trust" appears nearby, reflecting ideals deeply woven into American identity. The date 2002 marks the early years of the new century, and the small P Mint mark indicates production at the Philadelphia Mint. On the reverse, the torch, olive branch, and oak branch symbolize liberty, peace, and strength. To most people, this is just another dime. But to collectors, every detail matters, because every detail is a place where something could have gone wrong. One of the most powerful reasons the 2002 P dime is discussed in high-value conversations is the sheer scale of its production. Millions of these coins were struck, and when production numbers are this high, even rare error rates can result in a surprising number of unusual coins. Most errors are minor and go unnoticed, but a small percentage escape detection and enter circulation. These are the coins that later become the focus of intense scrutiny. Striking errors are among the most dramatic and visually arresting possibilities. An off-center strike occurs when the planchet is not properly aligned between the dies. Instead of a perfectly centered design, part of the image is missing or pushed toward the edge. A 2002 P dime with a strong off-center strike that still shows the full date and mint mark becomes immediately desirable. The more extreme the off-center placement, the more the coin stands out as something undeniably wrong and therefore fascinating. Broad strikes offer another window into minting chaos. These happen when the collar that normally contains the coin during striking fails to function correctly. Without that restraint, the coin spreads outward, becoming wider and thinner than intended. On a broad-struck 2002 P dime, the lettering may appear distorted, and the rim may be weak or absent. These coins look and feel different in the hand, and that physical difference plays a major role in their appeal. Multiple strikes and double strikes tell stories of coins that refuse to leave the press on time. When a coin is struck more than once, the resulting images can overlap in strange and unpredictable ways. Roosevelt's portrait may appear doubled or shifted, while the torch on the reverse may show ghost-like impressions. Each multiple-struck coin is unique, because no two misalignments are ever exactly the same. Uniqueness is one of the strongest drivers of extreme value. Double die errors are especially important in discussions of theoretical multimillion valuations. These errors occur during the creation of the die itself, not during the striking of individual coins. This means the doubling is part of the design and appears consistently on all coins struck from that die. On a 2002 P dime, true double die errors may show strong doubling on the lettering, the date, or Roosevelt's facial features. When the doubling is bold and clearly separated, collectors recognize it as something special and scarce. Planchet errors open the door to some of the most astonishing possibilities. A dime struck on the wrong planchet will have incorrect weight, thickness, and sometimes composition. Imagine a 2002 p dime struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin or another US denomination. The result would be a coin that immediately defies expectations. Such errors are rare, but when they appear, they can command enormous attention and value. Clipped planchets add another layer of intrigue. These occur when the metal strip from which planchets are punched is misfed or misaligned. The resulting coin may have a missing curved or straight SE. My dears, our next history begins with a humble American dime, a coin that most people barely notice, a coin worth just 10 cents in everyday life. But in the world of coin collecting, history, and rare minting mistakes, this tiny piece of metal can sometimes tell a story so extraordinary that its value stretches far beyond imagination. In this video, we're diving deep into the fascinating legend and possibilities surrounding the Liberty One dime dated 2003 with the P mint mark from the United States, a coin that has been discussed, rumored, and speculated to be worth up to 36,000 millions when certain extreme errors, mistakes, and mint mark anomalies come together in a perfect storm of rarity. At first glance, the 2003 P Liberty One dime looks ordinary. Millions of Americans use these coins for parking meters, vending machines, and everyday transactions without a second thought. It carries the familiar image of liberty that has symbolized freedom, democracy, and national identity for generations. The Philadelphia mint mark, represented by the letter P, often doesn't even stand out to casual observers, since Philadelphia coins traditionally didn't use mint marks for much of U.S. history. Yet it is precisely this normal appearance that makes the story so compelling, because sometimes the most valuable treasures hide in plain sight. To understand how a 10-cent coin could ever be discussed in the same breath as multi-million-dollar values, we need to understand the nature of coin errors and mint mistakes. Coins are mass-produced objects, struck at incredible speeds by powerful machines. Even with strict quality control, mistakes can and do happen. When they do, most errors are caught and destroyed before the coins ever leave the mint. But on rare occasions, an error slips through, enters circulation, and becomes a unique survivor of a mechanical or human failure. These survivors are what collectors dream of finding. The 2003 P Liberty One dime was produced during a time when the U.S. Mint was striking enormous quantities of coins to meet circulation demand. High-speed production increases efficiency, but it also increases the risk of subtle or dramatic mistakes. These mistakes can range from small die cracks to dramatic off-metal strikes, double strikes, missing elements, or incorrect mint marks. Individually, many of these errors are interesting but not life-changing in value. However, when multiple rare errors appear together on a single coin, the value can increase exponentially. One of the most talked about possibilities with the 2003 P Liberty One dime involves major double die errors. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives a misaligned impression during its creation. This results in doubling on letters, numbers, or design elements. On a dime, doubling might be visible in the word Liberty, the date 2003, or even in the facial features of Liberty herself. True double dies are highly sought after because they originate from the die itself, meaning every coin struck from that die will show the same doubling. If such a double die were discovered on a 2003 P dime and confirmed to be dramatic and previously unknown, collectors would pay extraordinary sums for the finest examples. Another powerful factor is the possibility of a wrong planchet error. This occurs when a coin is struck on a metal blank intended for a different denomination or even a different coin entirely. Imagine a 2003 P dime struck on a planchet meant for a quarter, a cent, or even a foreign coin. The weight, thickness, and metal composition would be wrong, instantly making the coin stand out under examination. Wrong planchet errors are already rare, but when combined with a modern date and a major mint, they become even more intriguing. If a 2003 P Liberty One dime were discovered on an extremely unusual or previously unrecorded planchet, its uniqueness could push its value into uncharted territory. Mint mark errors also play a crucial role in these extraordinary valuations. Although the Philadelphia Mint uses the P mint mark, errors involving mint marks can still occur. These might include missing mint marks when one should be present, doubled mint marks, repunched mint marks, or even the presence of an incorrect mint mark altogether. A 2003 dime bearing an unexpected mint mark or showing signs of a mint mark anomaly could represent a minting process failure that collectors would find irresistible. The more dramatic and verifiable the mint mark error, the higher the potential value. Another layer of fascination comes from transitional errors. Transitional errors occur when the mint is in the process of changing coin designs, compositions, or production methods. If a coin is struck using leftover dies, planchets, or equipment from a previous or experimental run, the resulting coin can become an instant rarity. While 2003 was not a major transitional year for dimes, rumors and speculation often focus on